The crystal glasses clinked with forced cheerfulness at my family's monthly dinner gathering. Aunt Patricia's mansion, with its overwrought Victorian decor and army of staff, served as the perfect backdrop for their favourite activity, critiquing my life choices. So, Olivia Patricia's voice dripped with artificial concern. As she adjusted her pearl necklace, still, between opportunities, I took a measured sip of water, noting how the butler hovered nearby with tomorrow's media deliveries. My cousin Marcus, fresh from his junior associate position at a mid-tier tech company, barely contained his smirk. Actually, I started, but my Uncle Gerald cut me off. "Patricia, don't sugarcoat it, the girl's unemployed again." He emphasised the last word while cutting into his waggy beef. What was it this time that little app company go under? If they'd bothered to read any tech news in the past year, they'd know that my little app company, Shadow Technologies, had just revolutionised artificial intelligence. But I'd purposely kept my name out of the press, using my middle name Grace for all public appearances. Until today, the app business is so unstable. My cousin Emma chimed in, adjusting her designer glasses. "You should have taken that job offer at Marcus's company. At least it was a real position." Marcus nodded sagely, entry level. "But we could have trained you tech isn't for everyone, cousin." I bit back a laugh, thinking about the email I'd received this morning. Marcus's company was one of many that Shadow Technologies had just acquired in a series of strategic takeovers. He just didn't know it yet. "Olivia," my mother sighed from across the table, "we're just worried about you 30 years old, and nothing to show for it. Your trust fund won't last forever." The trust fund they thought I was living off had actually been fully invested in my company's initial development. Now it had multiplied several thousand times over, but they still pictured me as the family charity case. Remember when she turned down Harvard Business School? Aunt Patricia Stage whispered to my uncle, said she wanted to code in her garage instead, as if computers were a real career. The butler approached with a silver tray of magazines. Tomorrow's advanced copies that my aunt insisted on receiving to stay ahead of the social curve. Fortune magazine lay on top its glossy cover. Facing down, speaking of careers, Marcus continued, "My company's stock is up 2% this quarter. We're really disrupting the industry. You probably read about us in Fortune." "Fortune?" My aunt brightened. "Charles, do show us the new issue. I love keeping up with actual business success stories." The butler hesitated, his eyes flickering to me for just a moment. I gave him a slight nod. He'd been one of the first to figure out my secret. Having seen the private documents I occasionally had delivered here, of course. "Madam," he turned over the magazine with practiced elegance. The reaction was instantaneous. My aunt's fork clattered against fine china. Marcus choked on his wine. My mother froze with her glass halfway to her lips. There on the cover, in crisp high definition, was my face. The headline read, "Shadow Technologies, Olivia Grace Sterling, youngest tech billionaire, reshapes artificial intelligence." The subheading was even better: how a 30-year-old coding prodigy built a $50 billion empire while staying in the shadows. That's not possible," Marcus sputtered, grabbing the magazine. "This must be a mistake." "No mistake," I said quietly, pulling out my phone and pulling up Shadow Technologies' acquisition announcement, though you might want to read page 42. There's an interesting sidebar about our recent acquisitions, including, as of this morning, your company. The silence that followed was worth every moment of their previous condescension. 50 billion. My mother whispered, her voice faint. "Give or take a few billion, depending on the market," I replied, finally allowing myself to relax into my chair. The AI market can be quite volatile, as Marcus would know or will know once he reports to his new executive board on Monday. The butler, ever professional, but clearly enjoying the moment, began serving dessert just as the first plate touched the table. Every phone in the room began buzzing with breaking news alerts. The symphony of phone notifications continued as headlines flooded in. My aunt's perfectly manicured hands trembled as she read aloud Shadow. Technologies acquires 5 major tech companies in unprecedented move Quivia. Sterling emerges as industry's new power player. Marcus had gone from red to pale. his phone displaying an urgent email from his company's HR department about upcoming organizational changes. He looked at me with dawning horror. You're my new boss. Actually, I smiled, taking another sip of water. I'm your boss's boss's boss. Though, technically, after tomorrow's restructuring, your position will be, let's say, under review. But you've been unemployed, and Patricia practically shrieked, living in that tiny apartment, driving that basic car. That tiny apartment is actually the entire top floor of the Sterling Tower. I corrected her. I just used the service entrance to avoid attention. And that basic car is a custom-engineered prototype worth more than this house. My Uncle Gerald, who'd been uncharacteristically quiet, finally found his voice. The Sterling Tower. You named it after yourself. No, I set down my glass carefully. I named it after Grandmother Sterling. You remember her, don't you? Uncle Gerald, the one whose foolish investment in my garage project started all this? The room fell silent again as they remembered their mockery of my grandmother's decision to fund my initial research. They'd called her senile when she liquidated her considerable assets to back my AI development. Now, her portrait hung in the lobby of a building worth billions. Emma, ever the social climber, attempted damage control. Olivia, darling, we always knew you were special. Remember when I tried to introduce you to that nice IT boy from my country club? You mean the one you said could teach me basic coding? I pulled up another news alert on my phone. He actually works for me now. He's our junior development team, though he's still working on basic coding himself. My mother's hand flew to her throat, a gesture she always used when losing control of a situation. But all those family dinners when we tried to help you find real work were highly entertaining. I finished for her, especially the one where Marcus spent an hour explaining disruption to me, right after my AI system had revolutionized his company's entire market sector. The butler reappeared with coffee service, subtly placing the latest Wall Street Journal beside my aunt. The headline made her gasp. Shadow. Technologies, Sterling revolutionizes AI, how a secret billionaire built an empire in silence. I don't understand, Marcus muttered, still staring at his HR email. How did none of us know? How did you keep this secret? I leaned forward, enjoying the moment perhaps more than I should, because you never bothered to look past appearances. You saw what you expected to see: the family disappointment, the unemployed cousin, the failed tech dreamer. Meanwhile, I was building something that would change the world. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from my executive team, Miss Sterling. The acquisition announcements have triggered a 30% surge in our stock price. Your net worth just increased by $15 billion. I showed them the message, watching as they calculated their years of condescension against my new reality. Now, then, I smiled. Shall we discuss the real reason I came to dinner tonight? The tension in the dining room could have been cut with one of Aunt Patricia's sterling silver knives. Every eye was fixed on me as I pulled out a sleek tablet from my cheap bag. Actually, a prototype of our new flexible display technology disguised as a simple purse. As of midnight, I began activating a holographic display that materialized above the dinner table. Shadow Technologies will announce its next phase of innovation. We're not just revolutionizing AI anymore, we're completely transforming how technology integrates with daily life. The hologram showed our latest breakthrough: neural interface technology that made smartphones obsolete. Marcus's company, which he'd bragged about all evening, was still working on touchscreens while we'd moved decades ahead. But before that announcement, I continued watching their faces reflect the blue glow of the hologram. I wanted to give my family the courtesy of understanding their new positions. My mother whispered, "Yes. You see, Grandmother Sterling didn't just invest in my garage project. She left very specific instructions about the family's future involvement in the company." I pulled up her will on the holographic display. "Each family member has a choice to make tonight." Aunt Patricia straightened in her chair, pearls gleaming as she calculated her options. What kind of choice? Simple: you can either maintain your current lifestyles, completely separate from Shadow Technologies. I paused, letting them see the latest stock valuations. Or you can join the company in entry-level positions, learning the business from the ground up. Just like I did, entry-level, Marcus sputtered. But I'm already a junior executive, were I corrected. Your position was eliminated in the acquisition, but I'm offering you a chance to earn a real position, not one bought with family connections. The butler silently began distributing folders I'd prepared. Inside each was a detailed assessment of their current financial situation alongside their potential future with shadow technologies. By God, Uncle Gerald muttered, reading his file. These stock options are worth more than your current net worth. I finished, but they have to be earned. No shortcuts, no nepotism, no trading on the sterling name. You'll start at the bottom, learn every aspect of the business, and prove your value. Emma frantically flipped through her folder, but this says we'd have to relocate to the tech development campus. In Montana, I nodded, where our main research facility is hidden away from the spotlight, away from social clubs and country club connections, just pure innovation and hard work. My mother's hands trembled as she read her file. Olivia, sweetheart, all of this time, while we were trying to fix your life, you were too busy maintaining appearances to see what was really happening, I said softly, but grandmother saw it. She understood that true success isn't about fancy dinners and social connections. It's about vision, determination, and the courage to work in silence while others judge you. I stood up, smoothing down my deliberately simple dress, actually woven with microscopic sensors that monitored everything from body temperature to stress levels. Another innovation they'd never noticed you have until midnight to decide. I announced those who choose to join will report to orientation Monday morning. Those who don't, I smiled, thinking of all their condescending comments over the years, can read about our success in Fortune magazine, and Marcus' company, Aunt Patricia, Asked Weekly, will be completely restructured. The old hierarchy based on family connections and social status is over merit, and innovation are all that matter. Now, my phone buzzed one final time. The stock had jumped another 20% on leaked rumours of our neural interface announcement. I showed them the update, watching as they calculated their potential futures against their past treatment of me. Oh, I added, picking up my bag, and Aunt Patricia, that unemployed joke you made earlier, it just cost you about $3 billion in potential stock options. Decisions have consequences. As I walked out of the mansion, I heard the chaos erupting behind me. Arguments about choices, recriminations about past behaviour, desperate negotiations with each other, but I didn't look back in my basic car, actually. An A-driven prototype worth more than their combined net worth. I smiled, thinking about Grandmother Sterling's last words to me. Let them underestimate you, dear. There's no sweeter success than the one they never saw coming. My phone lit up with the final headline of The Night Shadow Technology Sale Reveals Next-Gen Neural Interface Tech. World stunned by innovation from unknown billionaire, unknown no longer, I thought, driving toward my real office. Not the modest apartment they knew about, but the spectacular penthouse lab where we were reshaping the future. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't in proving people wrong, but in letting them slowly realise just how right you were all along. And as for family dinners, well, they were about to get a lot more interesting for those who earned the right to attend them. Because success, like the best technology, doesn't need to announce itself. It simply needs to work perfectly. When finally revealed, the aftermath of my revelation rippled through the tech world and my family with equal force the next morning as I sat in my real office, a stunning glass-walled command centre at top Sterling Tower. The decision started rolling and Marcus was the first to respond, his email arriving at exactly 11:59 p.m. I accept the entry-level position, I understand now. What real innovation means attached was a humble, almost painful admission of how wrong he'd been about technology leadership, and most importantly, about me. Emma followed shortly after, though her acceptance came with a telling request. Can I at least keep my social media presence? The answer, of course, was no, Shadow. Technology's employees operated under strict privacy protocols, something she'd learned in her new position in our data security department. Starting from the absolute bottom, Aunt Patricia's response was perhaps the most surprising. Rather than accept or decline, she requested a private meeting. When she arrived at Stirling Tower the next morning, gone were the pearls and designer outfit replaced by a simple business suit. "I've been thinking all night," she said, standing in my office with an unfamiliar humility, "about what Margaret, your grandmother, used to say about true worth versus apparent worth." I gestured for her to continue, watching her take in this spectacular view of the city, a view that included her mansion now looking remarkably small from this height. She tried to tell us, didn't she, about the future of technology? We were too busy counting our social connections to see what was right in front of us. And now, I asked, pulling up her file on my holographic display, now I want to learn really. Learn not for the money or the status, but because I finally understand what Margaret saw in you, the future. I studied her for a moment, then pressed a button on my desk. A hidden door opened, revealing a sophisticated laboratory. This was grandmother's original investment in me. A secret lab she built while everyone thought she was renovating her penthouse. Would you like to see what real innovation looks like? Her eyes widened as she took in the advanced technology, quantum computers, neural interface prototypes, AI systems that made current technology look prehistoric. "Welcome to Shadow Technologies' true headquarters," I said, leading her inside. "Your orientation starts now." My mother chose a different path. Her letter arrived by courier, handwritten, tear-stained and deeply reflective. She didn't want a position in the company. Instead, she asked to establish a foundation in Grandmother Sterling's name, supporting young innovators who, like me, had visions others couldn't see. Uncle Gerald predictably declined any involvement. His pride couldn't handle starting over at the bottom. Last I heard, he was trying to launch a competing tech company, unaware that Shadow Technologies already owned the patents to everything he was trying to develop. The most profound change, however, came in how they all began to see the world around them. Suddenly, every basic car might be a disguised prototype. Every modest apartment could hide a revolutionary laboratory, and every unemployed relative might just be the next billionaire innovator they'd failed to recognize at the next family dinner held in my penthouse lab rather than Aunt Patricia's mansion. The conversation was markedly different. Instead of social gossip and status symbols, they discussed quantum computing and neural pathways. Those who'd accepted positions shared their struggles and discoveries in learning real technology from the ground up. Marcus particularly had transformed 4 months into his entry-level coding position. He'd already developed a promising algorithm. "I finally understand," he told me one evening. "Success isn't about looking successful. It's about building something meaningful.